Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fearless and Fabulous podcast. I am your host and creator, Melanie Robinson. It is the space to empower women to thrive no matter their age and no matter their size. And today I am so excited to talk to Rebecca Breedlove-Berry. I'm telling you, it's the eclipse. The eclipse is messing me up. So
It is a
let's try this
mouthful, so
again. I'm with the fabulous Rebecca Breedlove-Berry. She is a sister queen of mine. I met her last year, almost exactly a year ago, at the Miss Voluptuous pageant, and she has been taking the pageant world by storm, and she is showing it does not matter what size you are, you can be fearless and fabulous and show up in all spaces. Thank you so much for showing up. Hi, Rebecca.
hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I kind of gave you a little bit of an introduction, but would you like to give us a little more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, I am a former military spouse. My husband just retired last month. So now we're a veteran family. We've lived in many states. We lived in Germany for 11 years. I'm a mother of two children. I have the absolute pleasure and honor to be a Medical Reserve Corps volunteer coordinator for our local health district. And I just got into pageantry about a year and a half ago, and it has been quite a journey. Many dreams and goals have been fulfilled. So that's me.
That's fantastic. And congratulations on the completion of service to the country. I'm a military spouse as well, and we have 6 more years left. And I know all too well the sacrifices, but also the opportunities that you come across when you get to live in all different types of places. So my congratulations to your husband and to you as well, because spouses serve too.
We do. We do.
So you started pageantry, you said a year and a half ago. You'd never
Yeah.
done pageants before then, right?
Right. I grew up in California in the 90s, and I always dreamed of doing pageantry, but in the 90s, nobody looked like me.
Hmm.
Everybody was very, very thin, almost sickly thin. And I'm only 5'7", so I wasn't tall enough either. So I just didn't see a place for me, but it was always a dream. It was always in the back of my mind. And I had an esthetician and friend, Ralph Ann, who had done pageantry and had her children involved, and she'd done some coaching. And she really encouraged me. I shared with her that I'd had this dream, and she really encouraged me to revisit.
Mm.
And I did, and I did a lot of research, and I came across Miss Voluptuous, and it was the perfect fit. It was exactly what I needed in that moment. And I took the plunge and asked for an interview and filled out the application. And here I am. Um, I took my Miss Voluptuous Virginia title and ran with it. Had a lot of fun doing appearances and using it as a way to enhance my platform. And that week was definitely one of the best weeks of my life. And then to get called out in the top six with you was just amazing. I can't even describe that feeling.
Yeah,
At that point, when they said Virginia, it didn't matter if they said my name again because
yeah.
that was such an amazing accomplishment.
I remember all too well, because I think they called me out once, the first or the second person, and I was like, oh my God, I made the top six, and I was like, anything else is like the cherry on top, right?
Right.
And then when I saw you come on stage and they called you, I was like, I was so excited. I'm like, military spouses in the house.
Yes. And actually the 40 plus crowd.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's another thing that I love about you being in pageantry, Rebecca, is because I think for so many of us women who are over 40, in my case, over 50, we tend to believe that that's just something that's not available to us. And for you showing up and you showing how it's possible to be in that space and be successful, I think is a real inspiration. So please
Mm.
tell me, you're wearing a very beautiful crown on your head right now as we are recording. It is Tiara Tuesday. Here's mine. But can you tell us
Okay.
about this current title that you're holding?
Yes, I decided to compete with Supreme International Pageantry. They had a pageant last August in North Carolina, and I decided to compete in their Curvy competition. It was quite a, I felt like it was a huge risk because I had just had shoulder surgery about
Mm,
7 weeks before the competition, and I still couldn't get my arm past here.
wow.
Um, so I had seriously considered withdrawing because I didn't know how I was gonna get dressed. How am I gonna get these dresses on? Um, it was hard enough for voluptuous pre-surgery getting. I had to have a lot of help because I just couldn't get I didn't have that range of motion.
Yeah.
But talked to the director and she said, "Don't you worry about that at all. There will be plenty of people in that dressing room that will help you." And they actually assigned somebody to their sole job was to help me get in and out of my clothing. So I showed up and it was a steep competition. The ladies I was competing against were much younger than I am. Um, but I approached this pageant differently. I wore what I wanted to wear. I didn't fall I wore floral, like a bright floral gown, and the judges loved it because I just was like, "This is me." Um, and so I ended up winning the Curvy division, and I definitely had one of the highest scores in the whole pageant. And I was very, very proud of my accomplishment there because I felt like I was starting here,
Yeah.
but I ended up being up here. So, with that pageant, it's same thing. You had your personal introduction and you had an interview. And when I walk into an interview, here's my little tip if anybody's paying attention.
Oh,
Walk
we
into
love
an interview.
tips.
Yes. Walk into that interview like you have been friends with these people for years. You've had Christmas dinner with these people.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I think
And
that's a terrific tip because I think the main thing is that I don't think it's not just pageantry, but I think even going into job interviews is we tend to put an interview on a pedestal, and then somehow the people who are interviewing us are like above us, and we make it something bigger in our head than it needs to be. Whereas it's about connecting. It's about
right.
connecting with those other people and finding what they can find relatable about you and how well you can work together. So I think that's a great tip is to just think of, their people. There's someone that you're at your house for dinner. You're trying to find
Yeah.
out more about them and they're learning more about what makes you shine. So
Yeah.
I think that is wonderful that you decide just to wear whatever you wanted to wear. And I remember you sent me a couple pictures about what should I wear. And I just think solids always work best. But I was so happy for you that you went with what made you feel your best because I think at the end of the day, that's what you got to do. You have to show up as how you best feel.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of being fearless and fabulous. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Just being your unique self, it really shows up on stage as well when you're up there or you're doing the runway. If you're not yourself,
Yeah,
you're just another model.
right. Absolutely. And people can tell. They can
Hmm.
tell when you're being authentic or if you're putting on a show. It's
Right.
just something different about the energy, about somehow the aura that you're giving off. And I
Hmm.
think that's so important is that stop being afraid of showing who we are and just let that person be.
Absolutely.
And those who are going to love you, they will. And if they don't, that's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
No, don't need to waste my energy.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I know I wanted to talk to you about is your platform with volunteerism. And that's something that speaks deeply to me as well. Being a fellow military spouse, I found that volunteering in my community was a great way for me to get out and meet people, as well as supporting causes I cared about. So, what got you into the world of volunteering?
Well, when I'm thinking back on the first time I actually chose to volunteer, um, we were at our first duty station in Arkansas, and it was a big presidential election year. And I had just graduated college with a political science degree, but I didn't have any money to donate. I didn't have anything to give, but I had a full tank of gas. And so I went down and I manned the phone bank.
Hmm.
So that really switched my brain. It doesn't take money.
Yeah.
So after that point, I said, I always think about what skills or what natural gifts do I have that I can bring to a situation? What can I do? What action can I take to improve a situation or to participate in a cause that I care about? And so I think that was the key point for me. And then my son comes along, and he was diagnosed with autism.
Hmm.
So I became active in my community, whether that was helping with meetings or running an on a Facebook group for military spouses with children with autism. Um, just those kind of things. I always tell people there's a really good chance I'm not the smartest person in the room, but there's a very good chance I'm the most resourceful.
I love
So,
that.
yeah, so I've always just really applied that to how can I help? What can I do? And we when we moved back to the States, we moved to Virginia the last week of January 2020. And
Right
talk
before
about
everything shut down.
yes. And then my job, I had a little job at the high school and it went away.
Hmm.
So the governor here in Virginia made a call. I said, we need volunteers with the Medical Reserve Corps. You don't have to be medical. If you're medical, great, but you don't have to be. Please, if you want to serve, this is the way to do it. And so I signed up to volunteer, and it was amazing. And then it turned into a job with the Department of Health,
Oh, wow.
and then that turned. I ended up getting picked up with another state agency, and then the Medical Reserve Corps volunteer coordinator for our district opened up. And it was one of those situations where I was like, I don't know if I'm really qualified.
Mm.
I do not have a master's degree. Um, I don't know if I should apply. But then after a while, I was like, you know what? I'll apply. What's the worst that can happen if I hit you know, send on this application? And after a couple of interviews and a presentation, I got the job.
That's
And
amazing. See, I just want to point out something real quick. When you brought up feeling like, well, I'm not really qualified, I don't think I should try, that is something that a lot of women tend to do. We tend to devalue our skills and our abilities. I read somewhere that men will typically apply for something if they feel they're 60% qualified, but women tend to, they need to feel they're fully qualified before they'll apply. And so it just goes to show that you just took a risk on yourself and thought, well, either it's going to work or it's not. And in your
Mhm.
case, it worked. So can you imagine if you just decided, oh, I'm not good enough, you wouldn't have that opportunity.
Right. And what an opportunity it's been. It, the volunteers that work with us are just amazing. Getting to work within public health and emergency management has just been um, a dream I didn't know I had.
Hmm.
Um, it's just really, it's checked a lot of boxes for me. And then on a personal side, I've gotten to make partnerships with other organizations. So I actively my volunteer time is usually with Serve the City Peninsula, and they're an organization that goes out and is hands-on. If there's a cemetery out in Hampton that nobody really knows who owns the land, and there's a lot several former slaves that are buried there,
Hmm.
and so they go out every month and maintain the graveyard. We work with the diaper bank. They're just a very hands-on organization. And I would never have found them without my position at the MRC. And a lot of these areas that my family plugs in have just been a result of. So, it's just one of those circumstances, one of those times that everything just kind of fell into place for me.
That's just beautiful. And you're making such an impact in your community. And I think that's something where maybe some people think, well, I'm just one person. What can I really do? But it really goes to show when you just give some time, you don't have to give money. If you just
No.
give some time or even giving a link to something that's happening, you are making a difference for someone else. And I
Right,
found that when I've been working with other people who are interested in volunteering, but they make it a lot bigger in their heads than it really is. I tell them
right,
it's just simply showing up, or it's
right,
simply saying, I can donate. I don't have money, but I do have these supplies that you might be able to use. Something so
right.
small can go such a long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had the opportunity to volunteer with St. Jude's. And again, I don't have a lot of funds to donate, but I can register people at their gala.
Yeah.
I can help people check out at the end of an auction. Um, I can smile and help people find their seats. There's
Yeah.
so many little things like that that as a volunteer, that's one less person they have to pay to do that job.
Right. Right.
And
And
then that
that's so
money,
important for those nonprofits. They
absolutely.
don't have the ability to pay a lot of people to run these events or
Mhm.
to uh, set up things or things like that. They rely on their volunteers. So I like to think of if you volunteer, even just at an event, you are saving that organization so much money and they can give their funds to the clients that need their services.
Right, absolutely.
Well, I love hearing about your volunteerism, and I know something you do on the side with your pageantry is that you like to compete in pageants with your daughter McKenna. So, can you tell us a bit about what that experience has been like? Because I know a lot of what people might be thinking about with kids in pageants, it's a toddlers and tiaras thing, but I know that's not always the case. So, what's that been like for you to do with your daughter?
It's actually a very new thing this summer. McKenna's been really into having me compete with her. If I ask her if she's interested, she'll ask, is there a 40 plus category?
Oh, I love it.
Um, so McKenna she started with Sunburst. Our local director here in Virginia is just delightful. And so we've done some Sunburst last year. And then McKenna participated in it's a Virginia organization called Lasting Beauty Foundation. And Mary McKeith, she's the director. She just lets McKenna be herself. And they just laugh and love on her and just let her be her authentic, true McKenna. So she got a title last year with them. This year, McKenna has stepped up her game. She's been working with a coach, so she's been working on her stage presence. We are very particular about what pageants she joins. We don't do glitz.
Mhm.
I to each their own. But my
Right.
daughter's naturally beautiful, and she's incredibly kind and stunning and athletic, and she doesn't need all of those things to make her stand out on stage.
I absolutely love that you say that she is beautiful as she is and authentic and then things that make her special. And those are qualities that it's going to help her as she gets older, as I'm sure you're aware of. And that she doesn't need pageants to validate her. It's just a way to help her shine as
Right.
herself. And
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful that you've ferreted out the types of pageants that you want her to be a part of, because I know sometimes some pageants they can really put a lot of unnecessary pressure on
Right.
girls and teenagers to look and act a certain way, and that can fall into some particularly dangerous rabbit holes, I think,
Absolutely.
in terms of
And
body
life,
image.
and yeah, and lifelong consequences.
Absolutely.
Mm. So she this summer, like I said, it's been a mother-daughter thing. She calls us the VIGs, for the very important girls. And so we have VIG days. And we we go and do these pageants. This last weekend, we competed with Lasting Beauty Foundation. They had it was the Miss Shenandoah Valley, and it was a Wonka themed pageant. McKenna was a girl Oompa Loompa, green wig and all. I had the beautiful purple Wonka skirt, and I competed in the runway, and so did McKenna, and then our gowns. Um, McKenna got first runner up in her division.
Oh,
We were
good for
very excited.
her.
She did so well. So many people have seen McKenna compete in the past, and I had probably about 5 people tell me, "Oh my goodness, McKenna has made so much progress in her stage work. Because she's been practicing, but the big but is
Yes.
she's still having fun. Because if it's not
Yes.
fun, we're done."
Right.
And so I competed in those same categories, and I competed against two other ladies. One was smidgen younger than me, and the other young lady was 21. And the lady who was closer in my age actually pulled out for a grand ultimate, and I won my age division.
Good for
So that
you.
was very exciting. And then on my sash there was a extra flamingo because I was a top scorer overall. So
That's
it
wonderful.
cute. It was the first time that Lasting Beauty Foundation has done a 21 plus category.
Mhm.
But it was a big hit. They loved it. And I certainly was the largest queen on the stage. Uh, but that didn't matter because I deserve to be up there just as well as anybody else that was there. And I think my scores represented that as well.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's the main thing, Rebecca, is, curvy women like us. It doesn't matter if we're the biggest girls at a competition or not, or the biggest girls in the room at a party or networking, whatever that is. Our size does not define us. It does not say everything about who we are and what we have to offer. And beauty has no size, as I like to say. And I think
Right.
what's really important, especially for you and McKenna, is that she is seeing her mother still being celebrated regardless of how curvy you may be. She's getting a message that she's not going to be fearing her body, hopefully, as she's getting older, that she is
Right.
still worthy. So my crown's off to you for setting such a beautiful example.
Thank you. Thank you. And it really boils down to we're sure having a lot of fun doing it. So
Absolutely.
yeah. We have a few more pageants lined up this summer. This weekend we're doing a runway pageant. Um, I was a little concerned because a lot of the photos and the social media, nobody looks like me, but there's always a first, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I've been in the same shoes. I was the first plus size contestant at a international pageant a couple years ago. I was the first
Mhm.
one and the only one. And of course, the only one with purple hair. But what that does is that it shows what can be done. And my mantra is if you can't see her, you can't be her.
Right.
So hopefully other women will see you and they'll say, well, I can do that too. And then we're setting, new standards for women to and be inspired by.
Yes. That's so true.
Well, Rebecca, I have loved seeing you. We're going to have to catch up offline because it's been way, way too long. But
Has
I
been.
wanted to thank you so much for being a guest today. And can you please tell our audience where they can follow you? I'll, of course, will be linking it, but let us know where they can follow your journey.
Sure. Facebook is at Rebecca Breedlove-Berry, plus size pageant queen, as well as my IG.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again and good luck with your upcoming pageants. And thank you again for your service as a military family, and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you all for joining us here at the Fearless and Fabulous podcast. Again, I am Melanie Robinson. Come back to the space often where you'll be inspired by women who are living their lives authentically, no matter their age and no matter their size. Take care now.